this area of Nova Scotia. I'm not going to name it, but we'll see. I'm also not going to be using any names of anyone. And take everything that I tell you with a grain of salt, because I didn't do any research. This is all stories that I've heard from my family or, whatever. So basically, where I used to live, it is a very small town. My grandmother was born there and grew up there, and I don't know how many generations back, but I know it's quite a bit. But my father was born there, and we always had a property there. So as kids, me and my cousins would spend the summers there, and it's always a very special place, near and dear to my heart. And when I was in grade 4, I think it was grade 4, yeah. When I was in grade 4, I moved there full time. And I'm trying to describe the area. It's not really one area. It's like 4 separate combined. My school, it was primary to 12, and it had about 180 kids from primary to 12, and they were from those 4 areas. So my bus ride was an hour long. Anyway, the area that I lived in, there was only one other girl that went to my school from that area. But it used to be apparently a thriving town, because it was made famous by the invention and imports of grindstones. For those who don't know, grindstones are cylindrical stones that would spin, so you could sharpen metal objects on them. Grindstones. And actually, my old house had a grindstone built into the stone foundation, which is really cool. Anyway, so basically, there's kind of a bay area, and there used to be a dock where I guess they would ship grindstones, and there was kind of one family behind that, I guess kind of the kings of this area. He actually called himself a king. And so he was kind of the head of this industry and the grindstone king. And they had a bunch of mansions, him and his family members, in this area. Now, by mansions, I guess by today's standard, they would just be pretty large houses, but back then they were definitely mansions. Maybe by today's standards they were still mansions, I'm not sure. I've seen photos, it's really cool, but they're no longer standing, or a lot of them are. There's only one that was left standing, and that's the one that I'm going to be talking about, because I feel it's just so cool. It was always a very interesting thing as a kid. So yeah, the site where the original dude, the king, the grindstone kings, house is just a big field along the water with giant trees where bald eagles have their nests, and it's really beautiful. And if you walk in the field, you can still see the stone foundation of his house. But I don't know what happened, but all of the houses in that area are pretty much gone, those ones included, except I believe it was his niece, or maybe his great niece. She was the last surviving relative. That's probably not true, but living in that area. And she had a great big house on top of a hill. But the interesting thing about her is that she was a hermit, so she never came outside. Now the story behind that, or the rumor behind that, is that her was conceived out of wedlock, which was obviously very scandalous for back in the day. And she, it was basically said that her parents got married right before she was born, but it was actually rumored that her parents actually got married the day after she was born. And I don't think it was a very happy marriage. I think I believe that the father was like a stable hand or something, and was kind of forced into it. But apparently they were so ashamed that they had this, for lack of a better word, bastard daughter, that they would only take her out at night, and that's how she became like a recluse, like a hermit. That they would only take her out at night so no one would see her. Now, eventually, I think she lived in the house. It's a large house. She lived in that house with, I believe, her mother, maybe her grandmother, and like a nanny or something. But eventually, they all died and left her completely alone. I did see her twice, I believe. She was getting mail from her mailbox each time, and she looked like kind of a frightened old woman, and she wore an alarming wig. I'm not sure. Anyway, she kind of had one guy in the community, and this guy I'm actually like related to and probably will spill some juicy gossip on, because he is a very problematic person with a very problematic past. I'm not blood related to him, but he is like a member of like the family, you know what I mean? Anyway, he is kind of a weird dude, but lived relatively close, and he was kind of entrusted. I believe he got her groceries, and like he would mow her lawns and stuff. Anyway, he was kind of the only one that she like talked to, really. I don't know why. I don't know if like she knew him or anything before then, but basically she lived in this house and she never came out. Like, she just would not leave this house. She wasn't like a complete hermit. Like, my grandmother actually like got to talk to her and meet her for a little bit, which was kind of cool. I think she was doing like an interview, I believe, because my grandmother, there used to be this old schoolhouse, and my grandmother maybe like was a part of preserving it as like this museum, and I think that like that had something to do with her, so she had to like talk to her or something. Anyway, but apparently she used to take a photo every year on her birthday and keep it in a photo album to keep track of like what she looked like, which is super cool, I think, or interesting, I guess. Anyway, that house was always like a very mysterious place, because it's just such an interesting story, and it's such a like a beautiful, large, like semi-abandoned house. It's wild, preserved in history, you know, because she wouldn't have done any renovations or anything. She just pretty much, I'm not even sure that it had electricity, to be completely frank with you. Maybe it did, but I'm not sure. Anyway, eventually she died. She was pretty old. She was in her 90s, and she had fallen, and she was all alone, so nobody found her for a couple of days, but they did find her, and they sent her to a senior's home. She didn't die in the house, but they sent her to a like senior's home, where she died like 15 days later or something. And the house was donated to like inside of it, or see any of her things or anything. And like, they were very like, they're keeping everybody out, and they're like just letting it fall to pieces. Like, they're thinking of knocking it down, which is such a waste and a shame. It's like so unfortunate. But there was one guy, and he was, I believe, a drug dealer. I'm pretty sure that's confirmed. I don't think that's rumored, but he'd been a convicted drug dealer. He was on house arrest, and he ended up breaking in to the place and stealing all sorts of this like antique furniture and selling it to like antique stores and whatever. They ended up easily tracing it back to him and finding out that he was the one to do it, and arrested him, and you know, like, his family moved out of there because of that. But they ended up emptying out all of her stuff from the house, because they were storing all of like her furniture and like everything in the house. So they emptied out, I think, all of the stuff of value from the house, so that the house was kind of just left sitting there empty. I'm not gonna say how, or when, or why, or what, but let's just say I got the opportunity to, I don't even know if I should say this because I feel like it's like, allegedly, this is all fake. All of it's fake. I'm definitely not telling the truth. I did find a way to see, maybe it's through video, maybe it's through whatever, the inside of this house. And it was super cool. I think that's a very interesting story. I hope they don't knock it down. It's kind of a shame, because the surrounding area, like her house is on this like beautiful hill, and the surrounding area had these big, gorgeous barns. When I was growing up surrounding it, and they were abandoned, they were like pretty much dilapidated, but we used to go explore those barns when I was little, and they were amazing. They were huge and just like in such a beautiful area. They actually belonged to my dad's childhood friend, and he's like actually part of the family. He married into the family later, but his dad owned that farm, but hadn't for a really long time, and they fell apart. Anyway, they knocked them down, but it's such a shame because, like, I don't know, I find that there's like such beauty in like abandoned and dilapidated things. But yeah, that is the story. That is my story of the Hermit. I have, again, I'm not saying how I got it or what happened, but I have this little cloth doll that used to be in this house. And do you know what? I actually do have something that like was acquired. I forgot that I had this as well. I forgot that this was from there. But I have a lot of like taxidermy pieces, and as part of my birthday present last year, or maybe the year before that, my dad got me, he had bought from they had like sold some of her stuff, and he had bought horns, and they were horns that were above like a mantle. He had bought these old horns, and they must be like hundreds of years old. I think they're so cool. So I have that, and I have like a little cloth sewing doll that maybe I'll show you sometime. Anyway, anyway, it's like a little piece of history. I always thought it was so cool. It was always like such an interesting thing growing up. It was honestly like a real life ghost story. Anyway, I got the chance though to run downstairs during my little break, and I grabbed these are my horns. I believe these were in her kitchen, if I remember. But I don't know what they're from, like a bull or an oxen or something. I am not knowledgeable in horns, but they've got this piece of wood separating them. So these are a little piece of her house that I have now, and I also brought in my memory box, which is so heavy. Every time I open my memory box, I just smile because I kind of forget what's in here, but it's all so cute. She was near the top, but she's very old and very delicate. But she's just this little doll, and I don't know why or where she came from. She's got a back too. She's got some rips and some tears, but she's very sweet and very precious. She's very petite. And so those are my two treasures from this story. She's got this pretty blonde hair, I want to say, and a blue bow in her hair, and she has a matching blue bow on her little undergarments that have frills, and she has blue ribbons at the bottom of her pants and matching blue shoes. She's so cute. There was a lot of toys in the house, and keep in mind that there was only like one old woman living there for years and years and years, and she never had any kids. But there was this doll stroller, and I recognized it because in my grandparents' basement, they had the exact same one that was my mother's when she was a kid. Now, it could be older than I think it is, but I think that it was just my mother's when she was a kid. I don't think it was like my grandmother's or anything. I think it's from like the 70s, not like, the 50s. So I don't think it would be around when and even if it was from the 50s, that still would be like way too new for her, if that makes sense. So it's just curious, I guess. I don't know why she would have children's toys in there. It makes me wonder about her